And Tom's joining us now live. First of all, I see on TV all the time, you get those great seats. And I said to Joy, is Tom getting those or is Draymond getting those for Tom? Who's getting you your seats, Tom?
Just depends what arena I'm in, Colin. If I'm at Memphis, it's Jaren Jackson. But if I'm in Golden State, it's been Draymond. He's been great. And it's been all good.
So I want to go back to when you recruited Draymond Green, a big kid. You obviously saw something. He was a very good athlete. Did you envision what he's become?
No. Hell no. He's been a lot better than I thought he would be. I thought he'd be a very good player. But I think his basketball IQ and maybe the system that he's in, I think Steve Kerr, Bob Meyer, those guys done a great job with Dre, and I think Steph and Clay. I mean, that group has been together. Unlike college now, where we seem to have transfer central. If you look at Golden State, they've got guys that have been there 7, 8, 9, 10 years, including the coach, the general manager. So they've been different than most franchises. They've kept everybody pretty much together.
It's interesting with Draymond. You don't want to ever coach, I imagine, the gift out of a player. Like, with Steph Curry, he's going to take some bad shots, right? Like, whatever. Like with Draymond, he's highly emotional. Sometimes he goes a little off the rails. When he was at Michigan State, how did you coach him, not wanting to take away his passion, Tom, but knowing sometimes he was combustible?
Well, Colin, there were some timeouts that were real interesting, as you can imagine. Some of those huddles were legendary, players still talk about him. But, he's really, you have to be around him to appreciate him. And I say that with great respect. I mean, I told him after, I think it was late games of the last series, I thought he let the officiating get to him. And he agreed, he is very smart. Yes, he's emotional, but he's smarter than people give him credit. Some of it is part of the stick, it's part of what he does. Right. But I promise you, winning is at the front of his radar. He just winning is the most important thing to him, and he's a tough kid. He's like the hockey guy, somebody's got to have a protector for Curry and Clay. Draymond's the protector. That's what he is, Yeah. He's the Bob Probert of modern day basketball.
Oh, drops the Red Wings reference. We love that on the show. So when you look at these series and you're sitting in the arena and you're watching these series, it is interesting. Jayson Tatum's a fascinating player that he has verbalized twice some self-doubt. I don't know if I'm a superstar. I didn't know a year ago if I could lead these guys. And I said, sometimes I'd like players to keep stuff to themselves. I don't want you to say that. And did you ever, because Tatum's a tremendous player. He's got a Hall of Fame career ahead of him. But did you ever have players, Tom, that you had more confidence in than they had in themselves?
Well, I think that's very true, especially this day and age with the social media killing these guys like it does, and sometimes talk show hosts like yourself. But, I think because of that, there is some self-doubt with more players than you would think. Now, when you say you don't want Tatum like that, I recruited Tatum a little bit here. Didn't pan out for us. Coach K went out on that. But I think you'd almost rather that sometimes than the guy that's so cocky and arrogant.
Right.
So there's a mix, in this day and age. Trying to find that balance is getting a little more difficult. But, Draymond doesn't necessarily have confidence in his shot, but he does have confidence in everything else and his ability to win. And I think Tatum in his first final, I think that team's done an incredible job too. Love their coach, the toughness he brings. And Brown has done a great job. They've done a good job inside with Williams. So they've got a good team, a very good team. But the Warriors still got that championship medal, as they say, and boy, Steph Curry sure did show that the other night.
Yeah, do you remember, I don't have your schedule in front of me. It wouldn't shock me if you played Davidson out of conference or something. When did you first see, Tom, when did you recruit Steph Curry? Did you see him in college? When did you first see him?
I did see him in college. Unfortunately, not soon enough. We did not play against him. We played him last year, and I think he was betting against us. So thank God Draymond won a little money in that deal. But I think in general, I saw Steph Curry play Iowa when they upset him in the Palace, and he was phenomenal then. And that last time I was out there, I happened to sit right next to his dad, Del Curry, and you know, you can just see where it all comes from. I mean, you got to love the way the guy is. He's confident but not cocky. He's so together. And, yeah, there'll be a pass now and then. You say, wow, we're a shot now and then. But some of those bad shots, Colin, he makes them. That's the problem, you know. And so his percentages have been just off the charts. And I enjoyed watching him. He played for a great college coach, and enjoyed watching him in college. And I've really enjoyed watching him in the NBA.
You know, Tom, I've been on this kick for about 2 years where I have said on the air, let's stop demonizing college basketball. Is the only reason I know who Zion is because of Duke. And I know if I had a son, he's going to get a better coach in college at a top 15 program than probably G League, at least more experience. He's going to have unbelievable marketing. That's where the NFL has always understood that college football is a wonderful marketing platform for the NFL. And for some reason, the NBA kind of demonizes college basketball. And I think, if I was a player, and what's funny is, as I watch a lot of these NBA players now, more and more I'm hearing them talk about, no, I want to go to college for a year. College is kind of cool. We see the ratings of March Madness were fantastic. When you recruit top players now, do you feel there's a little pivot to college basketball again is seen as a place, it's good for your brand, your marketing, the coaching, the growth? How is it right now for you to recruit top players?
Well, I think you're right. You know, I suppose the NIL has helped that a little bit. But, you know, I think, you know, the G League, I mean, I'm not as big a fan of it, but it seems to be working for the NBA. And but college basketball is still special, you know, and I think college in general. I mean, I talk to my buddy Mariucci all the time. I was with him last weekend when I was out in San Francisco, and what's the first thing we talk about? Our college days. You know, I'm sure you do the same thing.
Yep.
I feel bad for kids that are missing out on college, because college, it's not just the sports part of it. It's the growth. It's the friendship. It's the people you meet. I mean, a lot of times you go to college, you meet the girl you marry, you meet your best friends that you stay with for life. And I think that I'm not sticking up for college. I love the NBA too, but I do think there's a maturation and a growth process right now seems to be missing a lot in our society. You know, there is a process to getting to where you get. And when you skip part of that process, I think it hurts you in the long run. Yeah,
I'm reading a book right now about Phil Mickelson, and Phil Mickelson could have left college a year early because he'd been a great college player. And somebody said, why don't you go pro? Because he was good enough to. He's like, I'm not giving up Arizona State. This is the time of my life. He goes, I can win a bunch of money. I'll never get my last year at Arizona State. There's no way. So I want to ask you about Mike Krzyzewski retired. I love Mike. I read the book on him. And, you know, when you're as high profile as you or Krzyzewski, you have a bad moment. You have a bad, you know, listen, you've yelled at a player and people say, oh, look at Izzo. But I always say this. I always feel like the great coaches, period, are hard on players because they see the player. They see what's there. Hard coaching and hard parenting. Let's not lose sight of the value of it, the ability. There's an old saying, the reason, God lets us fall down is because he wants us to figure out how to get up. And when you ever have these moments of NIL and bad press for Tom and this and that, Krzyzewski's had multiple times. They almost fired him at Duke. How do you view, Tom, your legacy, coaching in college today, the NIL transfer portal? How do you wrap a bow around it? How do you think the health of the sport is today?
Well, it scares me a little bit, Colin, to be honest with you. And yet, you know, somehow it seems to work. The transfer portal is, you know, I worry about the kids that don't get out of the portal. There were 250 kids last year that never had a place to go. I worry about where these kids are going to go after they've transferred 4 times. What's the school they go back to for help? There's a lot of unintended consequences with it. but I've kind of given up on that. I love Mike Krzyzewski too. I think he did a great job. I think your part about falling down is such a great statement, because I think we want to create people that never fall down now. Like there's never a mistake. Like you're supposed to fail. That's part of success. And, I worry a little bit, like the minute things get tough, we'll transfer. The minute we start to fall down, we'll leave. So I'm kind of with you if that's the way you're going.
Yeah.
So I'll put you on the spot and say, what do you think of it?
Well, I've said about the transfer portal, I think for the integrity of college sports, you should not be able to transfer a week before the season until a week after it, the regular season. No, like college football, Labor Day to December 20th, no transferring for the integrity of, because coaches don't leave in the middle of a season. That's not. In terms of the NIL, I believe like a lot of things, Tom, in society, they're new, they're an avalanche, we don't know what to do with them, and then we get our arms around it and we put some legislation in, and I think in 1 year from now, Joey talks about this. Some of these boosters are going to pay some big money, and then it's not going to work, and they're going to be like, I like the old way. I'm not going to give you $10 million for a high school player. So I think we're in a bumpy, turbulent time with it, but in the end, we'll put in some legislation. It'll be good for both parties, the kid, the coach, and we'll survive. Because I think March Madness, if you look at the ratings of it, we love it. America loves that. It's not going away. But like everything, Tom, you have good years in the market and bad years, and you've had good years at Michigan State. And I think we're going through a turbulent, but the plane's going to land. That's my takeaway long-winded takeaway on it.
Well, I think Joy's right. So that shows that the woman in this group here is smarter than the man, because I think she is right. I think it'll bounce back, but I don't think it's going to be sustainable the way it is. But we'll see what happens there. The biggest thing that I've said about it is I just don't know if 17, 18, 19-year-olds are any different than the three of us were. And are we going to make good decisions? Are we going to make decisions because people are influencing us? Because Judd Heathcote, my old boss here at Coach Magic, used to say every freshman's unhappy. When you average 30 a game in high school, there's nobody in college basketball that averages 30 a game. So every freshman's unhappy. The difference is nowadays, I'm not sure Draymond would have stayed here playing 7-8 minutes as a freshman, or Marcus Tillman, or Xavier Tillman, or Denzel Bell. Pros that I've had, they would have probably all left by now. So I'm a little worried about that aspect of it. And yet, like you said, it'll work its way out, I guess. But in the middle of it, I don't worry about the programs. I worry more about the kids and the decisions they're making that could affect the rest of their lives.
So my buddy Jay Wright retired. Mike Krzyzewski retired. You still look great. You still got great energy. I watch on the sidelines. You're barking at refs. You're going 100 miles an hour. How long are you going to coach?
Well, that's a good point, because, Mike's, 9 years older, but Jay Wright is a little younger than I am. And Jay's a good friend, and, I respect what he did. But it just depends on how many bad calls those refs keep making, because that takes a lot of energy to get after those guys. But if they get better, I'm going to stay longer.
Good. Well, don't cry. Don't hold your breath on that one, Coach. Good. Don't hold your breath on that one. Tom, what a pleasure. Great seeing you again, and hope I see you at a couple of these games, finals games. Continued success to you and the Spartans. Thanks, Coach.
Well, I'm actually going out to Game 6, but I do watch the show every day, so you two keep smiling.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.